Hi, today I'm gonna show you how to knit this brioche in round 2 colors. Let's get started. For this project, you need 2 colors of yarn and circular needle. And please check my description box. There's the link for brioche 1 color and 2 color in flat. And this is the last brioche tutorial. All right. Cast on with main color, even number. I made 90. And I just show you pink yarn, but I decided to use yellow yarn as contrast color. And this is just a sample knitting, so I'm not making anything. So the cast on number should be depend on your project. Okay? Set up row number 1 with main color, which is gray for me, all knit. Then you have to connect both ends. I add my begin marker, then connect both ends. Okay? And all knit in first round of the setup. Okay? Just make sure the cast on shouldn't be twisted. Okay? That's about it. This row is easy. Set up row number 2 with contrast color, yellow for me. Leave the grain main color yarn just like that. Then let's start. Repeat of yarn front. This is at the very beginning, so just pretend that you put the yarn front like that, okay? Then slip 1 purlwise, then wrap the yellow yarn around the right needle, just like that. Then purl 1. And you have to repeat with some bracket. So your yarn is already front, so you just slip 1 purlwise, then wrap around the right needle, then purl 1. Okay? And you just repeat. There we go. Don't forget the wrap around the needle. And I just want to make sure the yarn front at the beginning tend to go at the back, but make sure and remember the yarn has to be out front. This is end of the setup row number 2. Slip 1, wrap, then purl 1, then slip 1, wrap, and purl 1. And you just slide the begin marker, and I just want you to make sure again the first stitch of next is brioche with that loose, the yellow ends. Okay, so row number 1 is with main color, which is gray for me. And right after the begin marker, it's a brioche stitch. It doesn't look like it, but do you remember the yellow loose, starts? That's a brioche. So brioche knit together. And this is knit row. So repeat of yarn front, slip 1 purlwise, keep the yarn front, then brioche knit together. So you just have to keep doing with some bracket until one last stitch, and it's a little bit tricky at the very end. Okay, so I gotta tell you, but anyway, I'm doing knit row, keep the yarn front, then brioche 2 together. Okay. Okay, almost end of the row number 1. So keep doing with some near bracket, yarn front, slip 1 purlwise, then brioche knitted together. Okay, the last one. There we go. After this, there's 1 stitch left. So then you do yarn front, then slip 1 purl stitch, and please remember the gray yarn, working yarn, goes at the back like that. Then that's actually brioche stitch with yellow and gray. So keep the gray working yarn at the back. And row number 2 with yellow contrast color, and you have to check the first stitch, not the second stitch. First stitch is independent stitch. So this is going to be a purl. So yarn front, repeat of yarn front, then slip purlwise, then wrap, purl 2 together, brioche purl 2 together. Keep the yarn front and slip 1 purlwise and wrap, and brioche purl 2 together. And you have to repeat with some bracket until last 2 stitch. Okay? And again, the gray yarn tends to come out front, but you don't really have to worry right now, but make sure it should be at the back. So wrap, this is end of the row 2, then brioche purl 2, and there we go. Slip 1, then looks like there's only 1 with the yellow, but remember the gray loose ends are like that, should be. Okay, then you have to do brioche purl 2 there. You really have to remember this. Okay, the end of the row 2 is actually brioche stitch. I'm actually struggle. There you go. I did brioche purl 2 together. And row number 3 with main color is same as row number 1, which is knit row. Okay, so that's the brioche. So brioche knitted together and yarn front, then slip 1, then brioche knitted together. The brioche in round is easy because you have to just repeat row number 1 and row number 2. That's it. You don't really have to check the second stitch, first stitch, anything like that. So you just have to be careful, at the end, right? Row number 1, you just have to slip, right? But do you remember, keep the main color at the back like that. That's actually important. Then row number 4 is same as row number 2, which is purl row, right? So just start repeat, yarn front, slip 1, wrap, and brioche purl 2. Just repeat 1 and 2. And again, important thing on this row is at the very end. Okay, looks like, one last stitch, but should be brioche. And one more thing I want to mention, if you forgot which yarn you're using, just to make sure, which color is more. Okay, now yellow color is more than gray, so next row should be gray, which is row number 1, which means knit row. Okay, so start with regular brioche knitted together. Then after that, you have to repeat off yarn front, slip 1, then brioche knitted together. Something like that. It's easy. The brioche in round is so easy, except the last part, kind of loose end. If you watch my brioche 1 color and 2 color in flat, you probably think, oh, maybe it's going to be so difficult for in round, but maybe this is the easiest one for me, except that, the last one. I'm actually telling you, just slip 1, right? And this gray should be at the back, okay? Like that, to create the brioche stitch at the very end. Okay, so I think that's the most tricky part. And again, now yellow, but you don't really have to think about anything. Yellow means row number 2, because for me, yellow is contrast color, not the main color. Okay, so it's gonna be purl. So slip 1 and wrap, then brioche purl 2 together. This is so easy. Okay, and if you like this, texture, this is actually great for dog sweater, the neck rib. It's so cute. Okay, then let's do the bind off. Because I started cast on with main color and knit 1 round for setup row with gray, I want to bind off after the gray yarn, which is row number 1. So I just finished row number 1. Okay, then I am going to bind off with gray. So 2 row gray at the front, I mean, at the beginning and end too. And now I am going to change the needle 1 size up. I was using 4.5 millimeter needle to knit this. Now I have 5.5 millimeter instead of 4.5, and then bind off. It's so easy. Next row should be just the knitting, and just knit 1, and I'm actually doing knit. Okay, knit 1, then brioche knit, then bind off. It's kind of hard because I'm using bigger size of needle, and knit 1 again, then bind off. Brioche knit, then bind off. Or you can do knit 1 and purl 1, bind off 2. That's what I'm actually going to show you right now. There you go. Brioche purl 2 together and bind off. And then knit 1, then bind off. Then next, brioche purl 2 together. I like this way because the bind off texture is a little bit different than all knit bind off. See, Can you see the all knit bind off is kind of facing to you, but the knit one and purl facing up. That actually looks better for me. It's really up to you. Anyway, even though you change the needle, please bind off loosely, okay? Otherwise it's gonna be really tight. Okay, can you see the difference? See, you know the difference of the bind off. Okay, I like the knit and purl bind off. Anyway, this is the texture. The right side more gray and wrong side more yellow. There you go. That's the wrong side. Isn't it nice? Okay, anyway, that's about it. Enjoy knitting. Next video should be the top-down sweater. Bye for now.